Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakbadash, and I want to say Shalom to Yaakov Malkoth out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson, and this is a little reboot of the What Does It Really Mean series. I know I haven't done it in quite a little bit. I was looking through here and I saw this one. This was from a month ago. Haughty and Lofty. This was the Profane, Corrupt. Okay, so Corrupt was a month ago. And then that might have been the one we left off on. I think it was. Yep. Excuse me. So Corrupt, and that was about a month ago. So I haven't been doing it for a little bit because I've been doing other things, as you can see. I don't know if we're gonna, fully reboot it up and just keep doing them again. We might. I probably should get back to it because I was keeping a list and going through words. But nonetheless, we got a word for you today, and that word is blessing. Okay, blessing. And here it is in the Hebrew. And like I said, this is gonna be, rough around the edges. I don't know if I'm gonna do it like I normally do. I might just get the Hebrew. I might go and get the Greek. We'll just see. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 different scriptures here that I want to touch on, and then we'll see. Because I also have another one I want to do, not in this lesson. I'll either do it after this one or after this lesson. I might end up just doing a daily verses lesson as I do, going to get a random verse and seeing, a quick hit. I just call it a quick hit. We'll just see. We'll just go through go with the flow. All right, see what the Spirit takes us, and yeah. So blessing. Okay, the word of the day is blessing, and the word in Hebrew is pronounced baraka. All right, baraka. Now let's see how they pronounce it.
Strong's H1293. Beracha. Beracha.
Now they say beracha. It's baraka. So if you were gonna say praises to would be barakatha. All right, barak. All right. Blessed are you. All right, or bless you. All right, barakatha. Barakatha. And then you would say barakatha Yahweh. Okay, so blessed are you, Yahweh, or blessings to you, Yahweh. But you would say barakatha Yahweh, Shemi Hawashai, or barakatha Yahweh, barakatha Yahushai. And we hear that in the opening sometimes. I'll usually say, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Shemi Hawashai. In Hebrew, I would do it a little bit different. I'd say, Kol Halalim La Yahweh Shemi Hawashai, which is all praises to Yahweh Shemi Hawashai. But barakatha, you'll hear that as well in openings. Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushai, Barakatha Yahweh Shemi Hawashai, Bahashem Rakakbadash, which means, blessed blessings to you, Yahweh, blessings to you, Yahushai, blessings to Barakatha Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Okay, so I'll say it again. I'm not the best with explaining bit by bit, but it would be Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushai, Barakatha Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakbadash, which is blessings to you, Yahweh, blessings to you, Yahushai, blessings to you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Okay, there we go. Slack So you'll hear that in openings or closings quite a bit. So that word barak, all right, which means blessing, all right, or blessings. Okay, so here we are. This is how it's in Hebrew. Okay, and I don't necessarily have to break it down because it's simple. All right, it's just baraka. All right, B-A-R. Well, let's see how they have it. All right, let's go, and we will do it that way. A little extra endeavor, why not? Let me go to Paleo Hebrew, and I'm not the best well-versed with the doing the Hebrew. All right, prior warning. Let me go ahead and grab that, and let me just slide it to the side here. We'll just do it this way. So it's gonna be this first one right here. Excuse me, it's gonna be ba. So BA, there you get this one right here, which is Ra. All right, so Ba, Ra, okay. And this one right here is going to be Ka, okay, Ka, and then the ender, Ah. So it would look like Baraka Ha, all right, but it would really be Baraka, and then a lot of the time you just drop the H anyway, and it would just be Baraka, Baraka, all right, or Baraka with the H. But a lot of the time you'll see it just like this when it's following the Hebrew linguistic rules, right? So Baraka, okay, Baraka. It's just like, you know, the father's name, when you break it down, it's going to look like Yahweh, but, you know, you cut that A and it's Yahweh. It just makes that soft H sound, that H-A. All right, when you drop that you just drop the A, but that's really there to make the soft H sound. Yahweh. It's not Yahweh, like a harsh H. It's a soft H, Yahweh. All right, not Yahweh. Okay. Not extra emphasis. Again, a lot of language in linguistic is understanding the phonics, all right, understanding how to pronounce something. You know, you don't want to have a strange emphasis or a lack of emphasis in different parts of words. You'd say food, you wouldn't say food, all right, because that would just sound weird, right? If you put emphasis on the O, okay, so it's food, okay, it's Yahweh, okay. So you got to understand how to pronounce it, because again, if you add emphasis in weird areas or lack emphasis, all right, or for example, you don't have the emphasis in Yahweh, it's Hawa, all right, that's no. Anyway, it's, again, you know, put the emphasis where it needs to be, okay? That's basic, well, here, what we're speaking, it's basic, as we would say, English, but it's basic language, all right, not just English. It's every different dialect has its own language rules, all right? Another one is that you saw us just do it now, is Hebrew is read from right to left. In America, you know, well, all English-speaking countries, as far as I know, read and write from left to right. Hebrew is right to left. The only other country I know that does that is, I don't know if China does it, but I know Japan does it, all right? They do right to left as well, which I would assume they write right to left as well. Is Japanese written from right to left? Yes, it is written from right to no, it's left to right, but it's right to left in novels, newspapers, and manga. So that's interesting to me. That's interesting. So I guess they kind of do a little bit of both. Hebrew, right to left. Okay, so anyway, if we go in here, we look around. All right, we can close out of that now and try to get this full screen back up again. Boom. Baraka. Okay, Baraka, and it says it's from this word. What is the root word? Barak. Okay, which means to bless, to kneel, to bless, to be blessed, to bless oneself, to be blessed, to be adorned, to cause to kneel. Assuming, you know, in blessing, to cause to kneel, to bless oneself, to praise, salute, or they say curse. I don't know when that would be necessarily used, but that's the root word, all right, and it means similar, all right, it means to bless, all right, but blessings, all right, is barak, all right, or Salakia, baraka, all right, barak is the other one, but baraka. So blessing, a source of blessing and prosperity, okay, and that's what a blessing is, you know, it leads to prosperity. Blessing, praise of Yahweh, so, you know, giving blessings unto the Lord is praising the Lord, okay. A gift, a present, that's a blessing. You've been blessed with something. If the Lord gave you something, you've been blessed. That's a gift or present. Or a treaty of peace, all right, asking for, you know, blessings of, you know, or to be blessed, you know, to stop, you know, to be peaceful. So prosperity, okay, now let's get the word prosperity. And a matter of fact, we're not going to even use this Google shit. We're going to pull up the Johnson's Dictionary, and we're going to type in prosperity and see what it means. It says prosperity, success, attainment of wishes, which means you gain the things that you hope for. Good fortune, okay? That's a so that would be, in this case, that would be referring into a blessing, okay? So blessing, prosperity, praise of Yahweh, and we know that we should praise Yahweh, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, constantly, all right, daily, and yeah, so that's our little startup. Do I want to get anything before? Do I want to get anything? You know what? Let's go and look up. Do a little bit of an extra stuff here. Let's go and look up the word prosper. Because I want to get a precept. I just want to find out which one I want to get. Well, Deuteronomy 28 and 29 is... We'll get this one. We were going to get it in a good light, but here's a bad light. Okay? Here's an example of, you know, not prospering. Okay? So the opposite of prosperity and a blessing would be a curse. Well, Deuteronomy 28, there's the curses. Deuteronomy 28 and 29, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. So if you were not blessed, all right, if you were, you know, did not obtain prosperity, then you would have the opposite of that, which would be curse, which is really going to be in the next edition of it. This is like a little sneak peek, so I didn't mean to whack the mic. Let me move it just a little bit out of my hand's reach. Yeah, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. As a matter of fact, is there another instance of prosper on this page? No, it's just there. But yeah, I mean, if you go up before 15, really all these are blessings. Okay, these were the blessings, but going down here, consequences of disobedience, and really these are the curses of disobedience. That was the consequence, was the curses that came upon us. Right here you're seeing verse 15. It says that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. But again, there were right here in 2, it says, and all these blessings shall come on thee. So differences. And if you go into 28 and 2, you're going to see the same word for blessings, baraka. Okay, so blessings. All right, we didn't get the blessings. All right, we are blessed in the Lord still, those that are, you know, following this truth to the best of our ability and sincerity, you know, as members of, hopefully, of the elect. But, you know, for the most part, we're still under the curses. We're not under the blessings right now. We are blessed. We do have blessings. The Lord is helping us. But at the same time, we're under the curses still. You know, the bodily health issues, you know, just different afflictions and things that we go through, and labor, and we're still, you know, as a byword under these individuals, they still call us all sorts of different types of names: beaners, spicks, jigaboos, and monkeys, and tonto, all these different type of names. And if they're not calling us a byword, or they're calling us a covering cast, all right, black, or this or that, or Mexican, or African, or all these different things. And our people aren't even these nations that they say. All right, we are Israelites, but they put all these different names upon us, all right, as we know. And that's not prosperity. All right, we would have had prosperity if we would have just listened to the Lord. Mind you, in verse 1 it says, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe and do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy power shall set thee, will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And again, we talked about that yesterday, how really the main primary sin, opening sin, like the big main sin primarily, is that disobedience, because that's, you know, disobedience is, you know, we were under the law, and you broke everything. If it's not, you know, of the law, is disobedience. Okay, so disobedience is what Eve did, all right, in the garden. Disobedience is what got a lot of the kings killed, got a lot of individuals killed. They got a lot of people still to this very day killed because of disobedience, and it all leads down to disobedience. All right, it all leads down to disobedience, not knowing the names of the Lord. You know, it goes down to disobedience because the Lord didn't grant you his name. Disobedience, right? Eating unclean things, like we mentioned yesterday, disobedience. Okay, women bitching at the men like that and trying to be big and burly, disobedience. All right, men being homosexuals, disobedience. Right, all goes back to disobedience. Okay, the reason these curses came upon us, disobedience. Right, all goes back to disobedience. And when you're being disobedient to cycle back in the lesson, you're not going to prosper. Okay, you're not going to prosper. You're not going to attain all of your wishes and have good fortune. No, you're going to have bad fortune. Bad things are going to come upon you, and the Lord's going to send you to your grave. But again, with that being of disobedient, people don't listen. But anyway, so blessings. We did not end up with the blessings in Deuteronomy 28. We ended up with the curses. Why? Because of disobedience. And because of that, we don't prosper. And all the things we do, we don't prosper. Okay? There's actually, it's in here. It talks about, let's see, right here, Deuteronomy 28 and 20, we're the opposite. Everything we have a hand in doesn't really work out, right? That's not prosperity. Verse 20, Deuteronomy 28 and 20, it says, "And the Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in at all thou settest thy hand into for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me." So in this truth, we're still under the curses, but we're not going to feel them quite as heavily as these. And again, we understand what they are, and we can, how can I say it? We can understand and gauge what they are. Now, the individuals out there, the 2/3, they're under the curses, but they don't know they're under the curses. So they're gonna have the curses on them heavier, but they're not gonna realize it. Okay, when we're in this truth, the Lord grants us mercy. All right, and the curses are in a lot of ways loosened. They're still there. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. But we understand them, we see them, and with that, they're lessened to a extent. And as we get closer and closer to the end, they're loosening up on us, and they're getting furthermore onto Esau. All right, Esau is starting to feel a touch of the curses now, which I think is hilarious. All right, bear with me just 1 minute. My nose is bothering the hell out of me. 1 minute. Oh, lucky for that. Oh, all right. So yeah, man. Anyway, so yeah, getting back to it. Let me grab this drink of water. It can also mean blessing and gifts. I know, for example, if I mentioned it, so that would be prosperity. So the Lord can bless you with prosperity. Now's not the time for us to really be prospering a whole bunch. Everything we do just is instant success. We're going to be prospering in the kingdom, but now's not really our time for prosperity. But we do get blessings. All right, we do get blessings as well from Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And another one on top of blessings from healing, guidance, knowledge. Those are all blessings that we are able to receive, which are really, if you think about it, a gift or a present. Okay, because the Lord has given us the gift of knowledge, understanding. He's given us a gift of healing. And again, I mentioned a couple lessons ago, we're not always going to be healed perfectly. There's certain things that are like chronic illnesses that you're going to go through, asthma or diabetes. Some people even, something worse is cancer that's not going to necessarily loosen up. And some of those things could eventually end up leading to you passing away, but that doesn't mean that you're wicked. It's just, it's those curses, man. We're part of being under the curses is being in Esau society, and Esau, it really expediates those curses. Is that a word? Speed up process. Yeah. It's incorrect. Expedite. All right. Expedite, but expedite. All right. Expedites those issues, right? Putting all these things in the water, putting these things in the air. Like right now, my nose is going crazy. For what? Right? For what? All these different toxins and pollutants and chemicals and all different types of shit in the air, right? Everything that they have out there, right? So they expedite or expedite, the health related issues with curses. So they put all sorts of shit in the water that causes cancer and all sorts of shit. In Babylon, you'll end up with all sorts of crazy type of shit, hemorrhoids and hair falling out, and weird different like rib issues, and you'll get sick one day and then you'll be fine the next day. There's all sorts of different types of shit in this place, and it's part of the refinement process through Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai as well. But it's all that's what it really gets down to. But it's also an action, a reaction from this environment that we're in, and the Lord just uses that. All right, that's how we get that. Really, how we go through this fiery trial, as it's mentioned. So let's get a couple of scriptures here. Like I said, I have most of them written down. If you go down here, you can see all the different times where the actual word baraka for blessings is used. It occurs 69 times in 64 different verses, which means a couple of those verses say blessing quite a few times. Excuse me. For example, this one says it twice. This one says it 3 times, right? So let's just jump into it. But with that, I'm really just going to get the ones that I have planned. And so let's go ahead and do it. The first one is Genesis 27 and 41. And it's going to be right here. And actually, as a matter of fact, we're just gonna get it in the Bible Gateway because I like to do it. So Genesis 27 and 41. Here in the King James Version and the Bible Gateway. Might as well use it while we got it. It's already banned in England. All right, so might as well use the Bible Gateway while we still can, or until somebody tries to take this one down. I wonder if this is still up for now. All right, because it went down for a while, but yeah, man, look at that. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 17. Pray without ceasing. Absolutely, a good daily verse. So Genesis 27 and 41. Here's an instance of the word blessing. Okay. Genesis 27 and 41, we're all very familiar with this one, right? And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. So this is a very, very famous story. One that, of course, everybody that's in the truth should be extremely familiar with. All right, this is literally our origin story of Jacob, becoming Israel, right? And like it says, Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. So a blessing, all right, that's a gift, all right. And another, on top of that, it was a blessing of prosperity, okay, a blessing of prosperity. Now, of course, we went off and we ended up going under the curses, but it was a blessing of prosperity. If you go into that blessing, 41. Okay. It said, this is 28. This is the blessing, right? Therefore, Yahweh. Okay, yeah. So you can read 27 if you want for a little bit more context. But again, most of us are familiar with it. So 28. Therefore, Yahweh give thee the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth. That's the best places, all right, that you can be. And plenty of corn and wine, so very fertile places. All right, plenty of food, plenty of wine, plenty of drink, right? It says, let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee, Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. So you're going to essentially rule over Esau as well. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. So that was the blessing. All right, that's prosperity. All right, you're going to prosper in the lands that you're in. All right, the fatness of the earth. You're going to be very prosperous in the food, in the wine, and the drink, right? You're going to be prosperous in rulership. You're going to have people serving you and nations bowing down to you. So prosperous that anybody blessed you will also be blessed. All right, because that's how, deep the prosperity runs. So there's an example. All right, of blessing. That is a blessing. All right, and that's an example of prosperity. Okay, as it says right up here again, prosperity. Prosperity. Again, we went off. All right, those are the things we could have had. Again, if you go to Deuteronomy 28 and you go up until, the 15th verse, up until that point where it switches over to the curses, it's all blessings. It's all things that we could have had. All right, but Jake decided to be disobedient. So the next one is Deuteronomy 28 and 2. Let's go and get that. It's already been 25 minutes. Jeez, okay. Deuteronomy 28 and 2. Let me mark these off as I do them. Ain't working so well, but whatever. So next is Deuteronomy 28 and 2. And it should be in here. Deuteronomy 28 and 2. So there you go. I'll keep that up just to show you that they are in there as a fact. So Deuteronomy 28 and 2. Again, we pretty much already got this one. But Deuteronomy 28 and 2. Again, right up at the top, these are the blessings up until verse like 15, I think. Yeah, 15 is when the curses. All right, that's if you won't do the things that the Lord wants you to do, then this is what's going to happen to you. 28 through 1 through 14 is if you do the Lord. Well, we'll start with 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord. So if you do diligently listen to the Lord, you truly and sincerely listen to the Lord, right? To observe, to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power. So, and I'll read a couple more. Blessed shall thou be in the city, and blessed shall thou be in the field. So in pretty much everywhere and every which way you're going to be blessed. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. So everything, all right, everything. If you go and get this in the Ant Bible, it's going to say the offspring. So your offspring, your offspring of your animals, the offspring of your herds, the offspring of the young of your flock. So everything basically is very blessed. It says, blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. So right now our basket is cursed. Okay, it says over here, your basket and your eating bowl will be blessed. Your basket's essentially your wallet. You're going to be very prosperous in your business ventures. You know, now Jake has a business and they just either barely get by, or, you know, it completely crashes and burns. All right. Verse 6. We don't have to get that, but, you know, for 4 and 5, we pretty much got what it means. All right. We already talked about all the different things. I mean, this is prosperity. Okay. We can skip down to 11, and the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods. We're not plenteous in goods right now. Okay. So those were heavy blessings that could have came upon us, but Jake decided to, you know, do their own thing. Right. They knew what's best. And the Lord doesn't know what he's talking about, right? He's only the Lord, right? So, mark that one off. And then we got Psalms 3 and 8. I'm just rattling these off. Psalms 3 and 8. So yeah, man. It's one of those things where we are blessed, but we're not blessed as we could have been blessed, which is it's not fine, but at the end of the day, I mean, once we're in the kingdom, all right, Lord, when we're part of the elect and we get translated without death, or I mean, if we do die, we're martyred, that's fine too. We just don't want to die in vain. We don't want to be like put to death for judgment's sake, right? But we're gonna have all those curses are gonna be taken off us, and essentially what's gonna really happen is we're gonna have Deuteronomy 28 1 through 14 upon us, all right, because we're gonna have the law written within our inward parts. Let's go and get that. This is Jeremiah 31 and 33. It says, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. This is the new covenant that's going to be in the kingdom. I don't want the new covenant people bugging out coming out and crawling out the woodwork. That's going to be in the kingdom. It says, but this shall, and mind you, once we go up into those chariots, we're in the kingdom. All right, that's part of the kingdom. All right. So you'll hear the apostles and elders talk about that. The chariots are part of the kingdom as well. So as soon as we're saved in Babylon's destruction, we go up. We're essentially in the kingdom already. And again, we're gonna have a point, you know, in the wilderness, not in the wilderness like where Jake running around thinking they're gonna survive, but there's gonna be a point in the wilderness, and you know, and then we're gonna build. Well, not us necessarily per se, but the heathens are gonna build their kingdom up, and then we'll have you know, an established kingdom. But for a time being, we're gonna be in the chariots, but it's gonna be likened to a kingdom. It's not gonna just look like you're on the interior of a car or something, like a vessel. It's gonna be very plenteous and very abundant. And again, it's one of those things that's hard as a human mind to fathom, because how big can an interior that's floating in the sky be? Well, again, remember, let's go and get Matthew 19 and 26. Yeah, this is the one. But Yahushua beheld them. And said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with Yahweh all things are possible. So with the Lord all things are possible, right? Bear with me just a minute. I gotta respond here to a message from the old Dadarino. All right. Cool. Thank you for that. I'm glad it worked out better. I was expecting a call from my father earlier, but he ended up calling, and he just texted me saying he fell asleep, so that's fine. Reschedule it and all. So yeah, that's why I had that little bit of pause, because I saw it pop up on my screen. But I turned my screen down, all right, face down, so I won't have any more interruptions. But Matthew 19:26 again. But Yahushua beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with Yahweh all things are possible. So yeah, with men, you know, it seems completely fucking unfathomable that you're gonna have some giant vessel that's, first of all, not even an earthly vessel, and most people can't even board it. I mean, nobody can board it unless they're like celestial bodied. All right, they have those new bodies like Yahushua has. Or else you just die from the radiation. And on top of that, there's like a whole, essentially like palace and kingdom and multiple different things. I mean, it's even hard to understand exactly how it's going to be in our spiritual mindset that we're in now. We don't know exactly, and on top of that, we don't know exactly how it's going to be, so we can't exactly envision something that we don't know exactly how it's going to be. There could be all sorts of things, markets and stuff, and it's hard to imagine like an outside situation inside of a vessel. But I mean, it's hey man, again, Matthew 19:26. But Yahushua beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with Yahweh all things are possible. I mean, he could have it look like a whole world in there when you're really on a vessel, and it's mind-blowing. It really is. The power of the Lord, the omnipotence of the Lord, and the sheer power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is something that is almost, I mean, it's almost uncomprehendable. All right, it's almost impossible to comprehend, and to some extent it is impossible to comprehend until we fully see it, because it's just, you know, we have not witnessed power like that in this current life. Okay, now some of us that were walking with Yahushua back in the day, yeah, we know we've seen miracles, and this time and day and age we've seen miracles, but we've not seen the miracles like, you know, for a sense like in the Bible where, you know, there was a blind man and Yahushua touched him, boom, now he can see and he's seeing. We haven't seen nothing necessarily like that. We've seen blessings, we've seen miracles through Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua in other ways, but we haven't seen something that's like, you know, that level. And again, it's not meant for us to see that right now, because right now we're operating off of faith. Okay, we're operating off of faith. And it's just like I believe he said it to Peter. You believe, well, blessed are they that have not seen yet believe. This was it was Thomas, not Peter. John 20:29, this is the occurrence, right? It says, Yahushua saith unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. So this goes with Yahushua, but this also goes with the miracles and the workings of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. We see them in other ways. We don't necessarily see them as physicalities. We don't see, we don't physically see it. We don't see a physical representation, but it's just like the wind. You don't physically see the wind, but you see the wind's effect on other things affecting them physically, right? If that makes sense. So we don't necessarily see Yahushai, but we see it's like the wind is clear, all right, but you can see its effects on everything on earth. The same thing with Yahushai, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. We don't necessarily see them embodied, but we see their effects on everything in the earth, all right? The way the trees move, the healing, the way, people act or don't act, right? We see those things. So Jeremiah 31 and 33, going with putting the law, all right, in the inward part, it says, "But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their power, and they shall be my people." So again, really in that, it's like there's a fucking gnat flying around. Yeah, damn, get out of here. Deuteronomy 28 and 1 through 14 is really going to be that, we have the law, we're going to be perfect, all right, we're going to be moving as we should move, we're not going to go off, and with that, those blessings are going to come upon us, okay, in full effect, and really the curses are going to be upon Esau, all right, to the highest level, the nations in general, the heathens, but Esau is going to feel the full blunt edge of the curses, and it's going to be hilarious, and it's going to be great because they deserve it. So Psalms 3 and 8, or Psalm 3 and 8, it says, "Salvation belongeth unto the Lord, thy blessing is upon thy people, Selah." And if we get this in over here, and we need to move back, but right here it says, Amplified Bible, same verse, "Salvation belongs to the Lord. May your blessing be upon your people, Selah." So again, the Lord blessing his people. And again, his people are, why they are Israel, it's not just Israel. He's specifically dealing with the elect. Now, all of Israel is his people at the end of the day, but they're just not behaving as it right now. Once, they get, deaded out, all right, the 2/3 get deaded out, they are going to be in the kingdom changed. Again, we talk about this quite frequently. Why? Because it's very important and it's integral, because you're either gonna make it or you're not gonna make it, man. That's how it goes. And then let's get Proverbs. And again, you're gonna hear a lot of the same concepts that all brothers talk about. All right, and there's been lessons talked about it. Like, all the lessons are the same. Well, all lessons really are the same if you want to get down to it. They're different, but all lessons, all the brothers talk about the same things in every single lesson if you really want to get down to it. Why? Because this is the testimony. This is the gospel. All right, this is the truth. All right, you're gonna have everything. A lot of people despise lesson refresher. That's the big thing. They don't like to hear a reiteration, but you'll hear the apostles say the way you learn is through repetition. All right, and that's absolutely true. If we go and look at the apostles page, and this, I just wanted to put this out there for the individuals to say, oh, all you guys ever do is talk about the same things in every lesson. Well, yeah, we're going to talk about the same things in every lesson. If you go and look about the videos right here, this is the Apostle Tahar. He made a lesson about lockdowns and gas shortages coming back. He made one about the Hanta. All right, he did another one about the Hanta. He did another one about lockdowns. So, he keeps on making the same lesson, right? Why does he keep on making it? Well, because it's about iteration. It's about, for example, I gotta always explain something nerdy, right? So this is the best way I could think about this, or a movie. Okay, think about it. They already made a Halloween. Why did they have to do a redo? All right, well, maybe there's stuff that they wanted to add to it. It's the same thing at the end of the day, but maybe they wanted to add something to it. A different part of the story that they didn't have, i.e. a different scripture, add some more scripture that they didn't get last time, or coming at it at a different angle. All right, maybe the first one was about, Michael Myers when he was older, and maybe now you want to do one when Michael Myers was younger, or maybe one about Michael Myers' family, or maybe the first person that was attacked by Michael Myers, his first victim, or and again, it's the same story, and it's the same thing, but it's coming to you in a different package. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's why the apostles or the elders have made lessons. Can't remember who made. Plenty of people made lessons about despising not lesson refresher. Okay, and you think this is gonna be the only lesson the apostle Dahar, makes on lockdowns and Hanta and pestilence? No, there's gonna be another one. And guess what? That's what we do. We make lots of different lessons, and with that, some of them are gonna come out the same. All right, little disclaimer. All right, because I've heard it before. But anyway, Proverbs 10 and 6. You're getting those same scriptures again. Well, are they bad? Should we just throw them away because we got them? These aren't one use. All right, these are these aren't like a pack of batteries that you drain them and then can't get those anymore. No, we're gonna continue to get them over and over and over and over again because there's instruction here. And again, that's how you're gonna learn. Okay, because a lot of people say, oh, you keep on making that same lesson, but I bet you couldn't I bet you could not recite it. All right, if you've seen it that many times and you've seen those scriptures that many times, then recite them. Okay, you should be able to recite them word for word. You should be able to say where they're actually at. Proverbs 10 and 26. And if it's been that much, you've gotten it that much, you should be able to quote that scripture verbatim, word for word. And you should be able to go over, oh, well, I've seen this lesson before. Here's everything in it. All right. And I guarantee you're not going to be right. All right. There's going to be new things. Okay. So think about that before you get too high-minded. All right. So Proverbs 10, and that's the other thing. People are again, it's really you don't want something you don't want a reiteration. You want something new and entertaining. All right, you want something new that piques your interest, something that's new. You want to hear about when Jake was fighting a bear out in the wild, and some different story that's not even in the Bible. That's what you want to hear. You want to hear something new and exciting, and a tale of intrigue. You want some Conan style pulp fiction, not like the movie, but pulp. If you look at pulp comic. Or pulp. What is pulp? A pulp magazine. They're inexpensive fiction. So pulp fiction. Let's see. They were like penny dreadfuls. All right. What were they? What is a in short? Here, I'll ask it. This is what you want. In short, what was a pulp fiction magazine? They contained entertaining stories, detective crime, westerns, science fiction, horror, adventure, romance. You want all those. You want something intriguing. You want entertaining and intriguing. Well, this truth isn't meant for your entertainment. Okay? So find something else to do. Find a different outcome. If you want entertainment, well, you can easily click off this video and you can go and type in anything else. All right? How was this? This is ridiculous. But, you can easily go and just type in, it's this easy. Here, you want entertainment? There, boom. It's only a couple letters away. All right, 6 to be exact. 6 letters away. Beyonce. Type that in. Go and watch one of the videos. All right, and be entertained. All right. But don't complain when it's the same song over and over again. And that's the thing. A lot of people will complain. Anyway, I'm going on a little rant now. But a lot of people will complain about, oh, it's the same scriptures, the same lesson. But at the end of the day, you'll listen to the same fucking song 350 times. But when it comes to a lesson, you don't want to hear it. Right? That's an issue with you. Right? That's an issue with you. So, Proverbs 10 and 6. Let's go over there. And we're like, we're just gonna get it this way. Actually, we're just going to close out of the blue letter and get Proverbs 10 and 6. And it says, blessings are upon the head of the just. So the just is the right, those that are walking rightly, right? But violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. Amp Bible, blessings are on the head of the righteous, the upright, those in right standing with Yahweh. But the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. So, I mean, let's try to get it in. Here we go. People say good things about those who live right, but the words of the wicked only hide their violent plans. Let's see this one. Mouth of the wicked conceals violence. They're liars, right? They try to hide things. They try to hide how they really are. Blessings cover the head of a righteous person, but violence covers the mouths of wicked people. And then let's get the good news. It says, good people will receive blessings. The words of the wicked hide a violent nature. Yeah, I like that one probably the best, other than the King James Version. Good people receive blessings, but the words of the wicked hide a violent nature. That's that deception. That's the deceiving, right? So, again, blessings, blessings, blessings. And finally, we got one more scripture. It's going to be Isaiah 44:1 through 3. And it's going to read, you can see the subheading here is, the Lord is the only power, okay? Or God, as people would say. It says, verse 1, Yet now hear, O Jacob my servant, and Israel whom I have chosen. Thus saith the Lord that made thee, and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob my servant, and thou Jezreel whom I have chosen. And here's the part dealing with the blessings. Verse 3, For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessing upon thine offspring. So there you go. And that's plain. You can pause it if you want and read the Good News Translation, but it's simple, all right? Which also shows you in verse 3 that, there's a scripture that, roughly paraphrasing, my servant shall eat, but you shall be hungry. My servant shall drink, but you shall be thirsty. And there's more than that. But you shall howl for vexation of spirit. My servant shall rejoice, but you shall howl for vexation of spirit, roughly paraphrasing. That shows, well, a lot of people are like, well, how is that going to happen? Well, you can see in verse 3, I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. So if you're in a dry ground, he can just open up a pool of water right there, boom, and you can drink it. So another example of the Lord's awesome and mighty power. Okay. Yeah, man, the Lord's awesome. All right, the Lord's, he can, man. Like I said, I try not to say badass, because I don't like to put words on that. But I mean, if what people consider badass, all right, the Lord is most certainly. All right, I don't like to call it, I don't like to say it, because it's almost like saying someone's an ass. But no, he's not an ass. But when people say, oh, that's badass, well, think about what the Lord's power. A lot of the Lord's power is what people would call badass. I mean, think about this. Rain and hellfire and brimstone. That's badass, man. That's cool. That's if you saw that in a movie. Think about it, if you saw that movie or in a video game. Some mighty power, raining, destroying a city with you'd be like, damn, that's badass. That guy's powerful, right? And that's the Lord for you, man. He's powerful. He's almighty. And it's one of those things where it's like in games and in video games and Dungeons and Dragons stuff, I always like playing a wizard, right? And they chalk that up to witchcraft, right? Witchcraft and wizardry. Well, really, if you look at a wizard, it's not the way that they have them do it in the games. Sometimes, like if they're reading a spell book or whatever, that's a little bit witchcrafty. It doesn't mean you're bad if you play it. And again, it's not a real spell. If you say, oh, I'm casting fireball, it's a fucking game. Anyway, I wanted to put that out there for the people that like to be 3 deep and 2 deep instead of being 1 deep. But if you really think about it, like just looking at some of the spells from like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, I mean, that's just spiritual power. That's just spiritual power, like lighting someone on fire. All right, that's spiritual power. That ain't like witchcraft. That's literally spiritual power. The Lord can do that. He can just have you poof. You're on fire. Different things, man. One of the spells in Dungeons and Dragons is protection from evil. All right, that's prayer. All right, that's just a prayer. That's not a spell. That's a prayer. All sorts of different things, right? There's another one, detect good and evil. Detecting evil, that's just discernment, right? Think about, I mean, if you go and look, I'll actually go and do it. I'll just open Dungeons and Dragons Basic because it's my favorite one. I never thought I'd be doing this during a lesson, but I just want to show you, like, it's all spiritual power, man. Go to spells. Clerical spells are going to be, of course, pretty much all like holy things, right? Curing wounds, prayer. Detecting evil, discernment. Detecting magic, oh, that's got witchcraft on it. Discernment, all right. Light, that's going to, spiritual power, that's what the Lord did, all right. Let there be light, boom, and then there was light, boom, right there and there. Protection from evil, that's prayer. Purify food and water, that's praying over it, right? Removing fear, that's prayer. right? Resisting cold, that's spiritual protection, right? Look at that, man. Look at that. All right, all these, and there's some of these that are not, magic. That's just well, let's keep them on going. Charm person, right? Spell can be used on any human or human-like creature. It's they will believe the spellcaster is their best friend. That's Yaiquabbing someone. That's charm. All right, that's using that Yaiquabbing. Try to get yourself out of a situation. Not lying, but Yaiquab. Floating disc, an invisible magical platform side. That would just be more so like a spiritual power. If you could materialize something out of air. All right. Hold portal, hold shut a gate. That's just power. All right. At the end of the day, and really that's spiritual power too. At the end of the day, if and right before Yahushua comes back, we're gonna get that. There might be people trying to come in and get you, and you might be able to, you couldn't get to the door in time, but you just look at it and the door locks. Boom. That's spiritual power, right? Same thing with light, magic missile. You might be able to, a lot of people talk about it. They equate it to Dragon Ball Z, and they use a lot of that magic and stuff in Dragon Ball Z. Burning people up and cast Kamehameha, all these different things, right? That's magic missile, protection from evil, prayer, all these different things, man. Look, shield, sleep, all these different types of things. All these different types of invisibility was on there too. So all these different types of things that you think about in this media and stuff that are just like really cool and badass, right? And you think about this power, all right? A lot of people like that stuff, all right? A lot of, whether it's stuff like just like raw power, like Bruce Lee and Jet Li, or you have stuff like Street Fighter or Dragon Ball with the spiritual power. It's just, that's what it is. It's spiritual power. They call it whatever they want, but it's just a spiritual power. They've been granted the power, all right, be able to do those things. We all like those things. Most of us in some way, shape, or form. All right. Maybe not quite as nerdy as the stuff that I'm into, but I'm sure there are brothers and sisters that are out in that level of nerdy stuff as well. Some people, not so much, right? I know, some that's a little nerdy. It's fine. Everybody's different strokes for different folks, right? But I guarantee there's some type of media that you can think of. But if you really think about it, like that's really kind of like spiritual power if you really think about it, right? And it's the Lord has not, I'll say hidden, but not really hidden, has shown that in all forms of media. Because where do you think they got these things from? They just came up with this all of a sudden? No, man. The Bible is the ultimate power fantasy, right? Except it's not a fantasy, because fantasy is something that doesn't really, that's something you fantasize about. I mean, in its way, it is a fantasy, but it's also a fantasy that's going to come true, all right? Because a lot of time with fantasy, it's something, that's just a fantasy, right? It's something that you think of, but it never comes true. Well, this truth is the ultimate power fantasy, and it's going to be the ultimate power relay in society once it actually come. Right now we're fantasizing of the days to come, but once those days to come, we won't be fantasizing anymore. We'll be living it. Okay, so that's the lesson. All right, Lord was edifying. So blessing, what does it really mean? Okay, yeah, that's it. That's all I got for it. How long we go? About an hour, 50 something minutes, 53 minutes. All right, fine with me. I think I'm gonna probably save the part 2 curse for tomorrow. We'll see what we do with it. And I think after this, I'm going to just go and get a daily versus, a little quick hit, and see where we go from there. So, that's where we're going to close out. Lord will is edifying. Again, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Makakwadash. Shalom, you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We are almost out of here, thankfully. Lord willing, until the next one. Shalom.